Welcome back then, guys, to this live stream. It is now time for the qualifying session for IFMC GP3. And if you didn't see what happened last week, it was quite an interesting weekend as well. Daniel Kvyat getting his first ever victory in the Pennzoil Grand Prix car in race 1, and in race 2 Marco Andretti went on to take his second IFMC GP3 victory. Joseph Newgarden comes into this race with a 10-point advantage over Ferdinand Asperg after what can only be described as a dreadful weekend for the Austrian, and looking to bounce back here for the remaining 3 weekends. As you can see, for the qualifying session, the weather is looking very interesting. It's going to start off bright and sunny with dry conditions, but as you can see, look, as we get towards between the halfway point and the back end of the session, we are expecting some rain to come about, so it could wetten up the track. So really, this part of the session here is probably going to be the most crucial when it comes to lap times before the rain comes out. So it'll be very interesting to see who can call it right in terms of the weather, of course, but that's pretty much that, really. So, as mentioned, bright and sunny conditions to start off with, and obviously, just a note, of course, 3 drivers have qualifying bans for this weekend for GP3. Those drivers being Will Power, Antoine Hubert and Nico Kari. So those 3 have qualifying bans and will not be taking part. So only 19 cars will be taking part in today's qualifying session. And hopefully it should be a very exciting one indeed. So I think without further ado then, let's get to the qualifying session for IFMC GP3. So here we are then in the pit lane. As you can see, the clouds are starting to gather, as you can see, but it's still a dry track at the moment. It's going to be very interesting to see who calls it right. We're at the end of the pit lane with Robert Kubica, so we will wait and get this session underway. And as mentioned, of course, a 35-minute session as we wait for these set of cars to come out on the track. And so, as you can see, of course, 35 minutes on the clock, and in fact it's going to be Kubica who's going to be the first man out on track in the KL racing car as he comes out of pit lane, and out on the track he goes now then. So out on track then goes Robert Kubica in the KL racing car. He's obviously the only KL racing car to do a lap, as his teammate taking part in this qualifying session, I should say, as his teammate has the qualifying ban, his teammate being Antoine Hubert. And Kubica now then will come up towards the left and right of Villeneuve, and Kubica will be having to start his lap very soon. Usually for GP3, this is usually the opening round, as it has been for the last 2 seasons, but not this season, of course. It's towards the back end of the season. Obviously GP3 had their season opener this season at Catalonia, so obviously a difference there, but hopefully we're still in for a very exciting weekend for GP3 here at Imola, as Kubica now then goes down towards Aquamilarali. Also on the track we have Lucas Di Grassi, Joseph Newgarden, Sebastian Buemi, Ferdinand Asperg out there as well, Kyle Kaiser, Antonio Fulwocco, Eero Vainio, Daniel Kvyat, Nick Heifeld, Anthony Davidson, Santino Ferrucci, Jack Aitken, and those guys will be coming out onto the track. So 12 runners coming out this time by, I would think. Sorry, no, it's 13 runners this time by, as Kubica now then will approach to 2 Ravazza corners. And as mentioned, we're hoping for a good weekend here for GP3. It's looking to be quite an exciting one for GP2 as well. But we will wait and see, as Kubica now then will come up now towards the last 2 corners on the track. And Kubica now then is about to start his next flying lap as he comes down the pit straight, heading down towards the first 3 turns on the track. Heading down towards turn 1 he will go, and Kubica will be the one setting the benchmark time for everybody to beat as he hooks the car around Tamburello through in towards the centre S, as he now goes up towards the Villeneuve corner, and through Villeneuve he goes around the left and right hander, as he'll now approach this long left-handed hairpin on the track as he flicks the car in through the corner. And out the turn he goes, using all the curve on the outside as he'll head up the hill towards Piratella. So up towards Piratella goes Robert Kubica as he flicks the car in through the corner, using all the curve on the outside, as he now heads down the hill towards Aquamilarali. Through the corner he goes, up the hill, using all the curve on the outside, as he will now approach the right-left chicane on the track. And through the right and left hander he goes, as he'll now head down towards the 2 Ravazza corners. And Kubica now then down towards Ravazza 1 he goes. And you can get an indication of what the clouds look like on the track. There are still some parts of the track which are bright, but still, we still have the threat of rain looming towards either the back end or the middle of this session. Kubica now then in towards the last chicane on the track. And he comes down the pit straight and across the line goes Kubica. And it's a 1:34.267 that the others have to beat. Here comes Lucas Di Grassi. He comes across the line. And he goes P2 for the moment. P2 for Joseph Newgarden. So he's behind Kubica at this stage of qualifying. Ferdinand Hasberg goes fastest. So Hasberg goes to the top. 5th place for Sebastian Buemi. As Kyle Kaiser slots to 6th place at the moment. Here comes Antonio Fuoco in the AYP racing car. He now crosses the line. And he goes P6 for the moment. As we look at Erevanio, who comes out of Ravazza 2. And he'll now approach the final chicane. And now towards the final chicane goes Erevanio as he comes out the final turn and onto the pit straight. And across the line he will go. And he goes 7th fastest for the moment. P2 for Daniel Kvyat. So Kvyat gets onto the front row. P4 for Nick Heifeld. As we now look at Anthony Davidson in the shadow. He heads down the pit straight. Across the line he will go. And he goes 10th fastest for the moment as it's P9 for Santino Ferrucci. Here comes Jack Aitken in the Wallows racing car. Across the line goes the British Korean and he goes 3rd fastest. So into the top 3 goes Jack Aitken. And that's that. So at the moment it is currently Hasberg fastest with I believe in 2nd is... Hasberg fastest with Kvyat 2nd. And rounding out the top 3 is Aitken. So that's how it currently stands at the moment in this session. And we'll have a quick look and see in a little bit what the top 5 looks like as Kubica goes into the pits for KR Racing. And he just goes trundling down pit lane looking for his mechanics, which are over there. No, they're not it. But he's at the end of the pit lane, isn't he? It's this one here. And so Kubica in. And so let's see then. So the leaderboard then is Hasberg and Kvyat, Aitken, Kubica and Heifeld. That's currently what the top 5 looks like. The championship leader I think is down in 6th place at the moment, Joseph Newgarden. We'll have a quick look. I think we kind of missed him a little bit, so I think he's in the top 6 for the moment in this session. We'll probably have a look at Heifeld and see what's going on as more cars start to spawn in the pit lane. And remember, we do have that threat of rain looming in as well, so that could be very interesting as Heifeld goes into the pits as he rounds the left-hander. And so going down pit lane goes Heifeld. And let's see what the leaderboard currently looks like then. As he just lifts the car off the jacks. And it is currently Hasberg fastest, of course. Of course, we have Kvyat, Aitken, Kubica, Heifeld. Newgarden currently in 6th place at this stage. The championship leader down in 6th, looking to try and improve on that if he can. And as mentioned, we just wait for another car to go out in a little bit. And we have just over 20 minutes of the session remaining to determine the grid for race 1 tomorrow here at Imola. And as you can see, still waiting for some pit activity. And now we've got some that looks like a shadow that's coming out. I believe it's Felipe Nasr. It is Felipe Nasr. So he comes out onto the track, the Brazilian out there now then, competing in real life this weekend in Le Mans in an LMP2 car. So he'll be looking to try and win in his class, if he can, of course. So he comes out of the S's. And then down towards the Villeneuve chicane now then, through the left and right hander, using all the curve on the outside as we now go up towards this left hander as Nasr flicks the car in, using all the curve on the outside as Nasr will now approach uphill towards Piratella. And through the left-hander then he goes as he now head down the hill towards the quick left-hander. And out of the turn then he goes as he heads up towards the chicane. Nasr preparing to start his next flying lap as he flicks the car in through the chicane around the right and left-hander, using all the curb on the outside. He heads down towards the 2 Ravazza corners So that's that for him. Daniel Abt out on the track. We also have Robert Kubica, Marco Andretti, Michael Alation, Alexander Rossi, Jenson Button, Nick Heifeld, Joseph Newgarden back out on the track, Lucas Di Grassi, Ferdinand Hasberg, Eero Vainio, Kyle Kaiser, and we'll be not expecting Hugh Bear. He's watching from the sideline. So they're the guys out on track as Nasser will approach the final chicane to start his first flying lap. Heading down the pit straight he goes now then, as he will soon approach the first few turns on the track, through turns 1, 2 and 3. And that's it now then up towards turn 1, through the left, then the right, and then through into turn 3 he'll go. As he'll soon now approach the left and right hander. Around the section of corners he goes, as he uses all the curb on the outside up towards the left hander. As Nasser flicks the car and into the corner now then, as he will soon head up the hill towards the Piratella. Up towards Piratella he goes. Nasser flicking the car in through the turn, using all the curb on the outside as he heads down the hill towards the quick right-hander. Flicking the car in through the corners now then, all the curb being used on the outside, as he will now go up towards the chicane. Through the left he goes now then, as he comes off the turn, heading down the hill towards Ravazza 1 and 2. And you can see the clouds are starting to gather a little bit more. It's a little bit more cloudy than what it is earlier going down that bit, as Nasser goes down through Ravazza 1 and 2. Let's see what the lap is going to be then for the Brazilian as he comes off the turn. Up towards the final 2 corners then goes Felipe Nasser. And let's see what the time is going to be as he now approaches the left and right hander, heading down the pit straight. And Nasser now then will cross the line, and he remains, and he goes up to 4th actually with that lap. So P4 for Felipe Nasser, as we now look at Daniel Abt in the American Engineering car on a lap, as we also have Robert Kubica behind him as well doing a lap, looking to improve upon 5th place if he can. Up towards the last chicane goes Daniel Abt, and let's see what he can do. Round the left right-hander he goes, heading down the pit straight, and Abt will now cross the line, and let's see what the time's going to be. It's 9th place for Daniel Abt, still 5th for Robert Kubica. Up into 8th place goes Marco Andretti, 9th place for Michael Alation. As we now look at Alexander Rossi, he's on a lap. There's other trainer cars behind him at the moment. It looks like Rossi's made a mistake somewhere. He's only 18th with that lap. 6th for Nick Heifeld, 18th for Button, 7th still for Newgarden. A whole trainer car's falling behind Rossi. He must have made a mistake somewhere. 10th for Lucas Di Grassi. Hasberg doesn't improve, remains on a 1 minute 33.953, I think that's said. Yes, it does. As now we'll look at Eero Vainio coming across the line now then. Can he improve? And he does. He goes up to 12th for that lap. So P12 for Vainio, P15 for Kyle Kaiser with that lap. And as you can see, a whole bunch of cars starting to form behind Alexander Rossi. And as you can see, makes you wonder where the mistake occurred. I'm guessing maybe down at Piratella perhaps, because he's way off the pace there. He must have made a mistake somewhere on the track as he goes around Aquaminerale. Through the uphill section he goes, and he'll soon approach the chicane. So into the chicane he will go, and as he flicks the car in, and he's 400ths up that time, Bally, around that corner as he comes into the pit. So it's probably the 3rd sector where he's made the mistake. Down towards that, so we go, and he goes around the turn now then. And Rossi comes down towards the where the pit lane is, and I'm gonna guess it must have been a mistake in the last sector. I can't see it being anything else. Why would he be that slow? That's what I would want to know. Some more cars form behind Rossi as they come back into the pits. So Rossi will be looking at an improvement at this stage now then, as Kaiser will come up towards the final chicane. So into the pits actually he goes, the American in, as he flicks the car through the left and right chicane of the pit lane entrance. Down pit lane he goes as he looks for his pit box. And as you can see, there's somebody actually coming out on the track that looks like it was a Pennzoil, and that's Daniel Kvyat out on track. Currently on the front row at the moment is the Russian. Currently in second place, here in the front row at the moment with Ferdinand Hasberg, and heading through the first few turns on the track, and now through towards the Villeneuve the Villeneuve chicane, as he'll be preparing to start his next flying lap, as we have just over 22 minutes of this qualifying session remaining to determine the grid for race 1 here at Imola. And of course we do have the threat of rain in this qualifying session as well, so be aware of that. As Kvyat now then goes around Piratella, as he heads down the hill towards Aquaminerali, and so through he will go around the turn, as Kvyat goes up towards the chicane on the track. Through the right and left hander he goes, and as you can see, Kvyat currently second place at the moment, as he looks to try and see if he can grab pole from Ferdinand Hasberg. So far he's been on a run of good form, it must be said, for the Russian, and looking to see if he could continue on that this weekend, as now Kvyat approaches the final chicane. Round the left and right hander he goes, heading down the pit straight as he starts his lap now then. Also on the track with Kvyat we have Santina Ferrucci, Daniel Abt, Sebastian Buemi, Ferdinand Hasberg, Anthony Davidson, Jack Aitken, Joseph Newgarden, Marco Andretti, Felipe Nasr, Eero Vainio, Antonio Fuoco, Michael Alation, and that's that. They are the guys currently out on the track at this stage now then, as they go through the Villeneuve chicane. Kvyat now then through the left hander he goes, and he'll soon go up the hill towards Piratella, as he flings the car around that corner now then, heading down the hill towards Aquaminerali, looking to try and beat Hasberg to pole if he can. Up the hill he goes, as he will now go up towards the chicane, and into that chicane then will go Kvyat, flicking the car in through the turns as he hip hops over the curb, coming off the chicane, as he goes down towards the double left-hander Vatsa 1 and 2. So down towards those corners he goes, flinging the car in, out of the turn now then, round the left-hander, coming off the turn as he will now come up towards the final chicane. And let's see what Daniel Kvyat can manage then. Round the left, down the right, heading down the pit straight, and across the line goes Daniel Kvyat. And is he going to improve? He does. Kvyat goes fastest for the moment. Kvyat to the top of the timing sheets, beats Hasberg to pole with that lap. Santina Ferrucci, 12th for him with that lap. Daniel Abt comes out of the final chicane. Let's see what the German can do as he will soon cross the line. And he goes up to 8th place, so a big improvement there for him. Sebastian Buemi coming off the final chicane. What can the Swiss driver do? He now crosses the line, and he goes up to 6th for that lap, so P6 for Sebastian Buemi. Here comes Ferdinand Hasberg. Can he try and snatch back pole from Daniel Kvyat? Across the line goes Hasberg, and he doesn't. He remains second with that lap. Anthony Davidson will cross the line now then, and he remains 17th with that lap. Jack Aitken remains third. Here comes Joseph Newgarden, 8th for the moment. Newgarden, across the line he will go, and he goes third fastest with that lap. So P3 for Joseph Newgarden. 8th place now for Marco Andretti, so an improvement for him. Here comes Felipe Nasr in the shadow. He will cross the line, and he stays 5th for the moment with that lap. Here comes Antonio Fuoco. He will now cross the line, and he goes 15th for that lap, so no improvement for him. Here comes Michael Alation, who rounds the final chicane, heading down the pit straight. Across the line he will go, and he remains in 11th place with that lap as Kvyat goes back into the pits this time by, and everybody else has finished their lap. So at the moment it is now Kvyat that's fastest, with Hasberg second and Newgarden who rounds out the top 3 at the moment in this session. And the rain still hasn't arrived yet in this session, but everybody that needs to do a lap has done a lap in the dry conditions, so whenever it does rain, of course, so coming around the left hander we go, and now towards the next section of corners we go. And as you can see, Kaiser will look at, Elation going back into the pits, this time by, still waiting for another set of cars to drop out on the track. I'll come out onto the track at the moment. How many minutes have we got to go left in this session now then? 17 minutes left in this session then to determine the grid for race 1 tomorrow here at Imola. As Elation will go down towards Ravazza 1 and 2. And so down towards a section of corners then he goes. And through Ravazza 2. And we'll be seeing him go into the pits this time by. As Robert Kubica in the KR racing car has just come out onto the track. As he just goes around the first few turns on the track. And he will now go up towards the Villeneuve S's. So through the left and right hander we go. Using all the curb on the outside now then, as he heads down towards the left hander. So out of the turn then we go. And as you can see, Kubica will now approach the left hander on the track. Which is Piratella. Round the turn he goes, using all the curb on the outside. Kubica preparing to start his next flying lap. Nick Heifeld has also joined him as well in the Kenny Star Motorsport car. Jenson Button out there as well. We're also expecting Buemi, Degrassi, Rossi, Apt, Ferrucci, and Nazar, Aitken, Davidson, Newgarden, and Kvyat to join these guys in a little bit. As Kubica comes out of the chicane. So he hip top over the curb there. As he'll now head down towards Ravazza 1 and 2. And I'm sorry for the drop of frames. As now down towards Ravazza 1 we go. And then down to Ravazza 2. And as you can see, Kubica about to start his next flying lap. Beg your pardon. As now in towards the left and right chicane we go. And now he heads down the pit straight towards the first few turns on the track. And Kubica now then on his lap then down towards turns 1 and 2 he'll go as he flicks the car in through this first few turns, coming down towards the Villeneuve chicane, and through the left and right hander he goes, and now up towards the left hander. And let's see if excuse me, if Kubica can improve. So far he finds himself in 6th place, so Kubica looking to try and improve if he can as he rounds Piratella now then, using all the curb on the outside, heading down the hill towards the 2 Ravazza corners. And through the right and left we go, as there's 3 races remaining, 3 race weekends remaining for GP2 and GP3. This is the third to last weekend for both of their series this season. The next one will be at Monza next weekend, and then they get a 2-week break before going to Abu Dhabi at Yas Marina for the finale for both of those series, and both hoping to have a championship fight if they can. Round Ravazza 2 goes Kubica, as he'll now go up towards the final chicane on the track now then. And let's see what Kubica can do then. Round the left and right hander heading down the pit straight, and Kubica now then is going to cross the line. Is this going to be an improvement for the pole? And it is. He goes up to 4th with that lap. So up to P4 goes Robert Kubica then with that lap. And then Newgarden about to start the lap in a little bit. Here comes Nick Heifeld then in the Kenny Star Motorsport car in 9th place in the top 10 at this stage. Round Ravazza 2 we go. And now heading through towards the final few turns on the track now then into the last chicane. Round the left and right hander we go. Heading down the pit straight across the line goes Nick Heifeld, and he remains in 9th place for the moment then. So 9th for him. Jenson Button goes up to 9th, a big improvement for him, to Button into the top 10 there then, whereas his teammates currently on the pole at the moment. Here is Lucas Degrassi, as he will now come up towards the last chicane. And through the last chicane then goes Lucas Degrassi. He heads down the pit straight, and Degrassi will now cross the line. Is this going to be an improvement? It isn't. He remains 13th for that lap. Still for teammate Abt so far qualifying Degrassi in this session. Here's current pole man Lucas Degrassi, who comes out of the final chicane. Can he improve on his 1 minute 33.939? Across the line he will go. And he doesn't. He remains on the 1 minute 33.939. Still so far fastest. As up into third goes Jack Aitken. So Aitken up into third place. Nazar remains 6th for that lap. Anthony Davidson remains 18th, but improves on his best time. Ferrucci still 14th for the moment, as it's still 7th for Sebastian Buemi. Here comes Alexander Rossi. Can he find some improvement? He should do, because he made a mistake earlier. Rossi crosses the line, but it's only good enough for 15th place at this stage. So he does improve after his mistake earlier, but it's only good enough for 15th at the moment. So Rossi struggling in this qualifying session. Here's Joseph Newgarden, currently 4th at this stage. Can he find some more time in the car? Round the final chicane goes the championship leader as he heads down the pit straight. Across the line goes Joseph Newgarden, and he remains in 4th. No improvement for him. Still P4 for the American, as Nick Heifeld is going back into the pits. Anybody else on a lap? It doesn't appear like it. So at the moment it is still Kvyat fastest, with Hasberg 2nd, Aitken 3rd, Newgarden in 4th position. And rounding out the top 5 is I think I'm trying to think who's rounding out the top 5. In fact, I think it is Robert Kubica, maybe. I could be wrong. Yes, it is. So it's Kvyat from Hasberg, Aitken, Newgarden, and Kubica. As we're into the final 11 or so minutes left in this session. Only 12 hundredths separate. Sorry, not 12 hundredths. 14 hundredths. Sorry, 14 thousandths separate Kvyat and Hasberg, and a further 20,000, a further 200ths back for Jack Aitken. Only 4 hundredths from pole position from Ferdinand Hasberg. So that's pretty much that then for him. And so Aitken showing some good pace at the moment. In fact, the pretty much the top 5 only separated by a 10th of a second. So it's a very close qualifying session here today at Imola as Kyle Kaiser goes out on the track. We're still awaiting this rain. There's still a few bright spots out there on the track, but as I said, we're still waiting for the rain to loom at this stage before we can possibly lap times come to a halt, and pretty much wreck any chance of any improvements as we come down to the final 10 minutes of this qualifying session, as Kyle Kaiser goes down towards Aquamilarali 1 and 2 as we go up the hill towards the right-left chicane. Into that chicane then goes Kaiser as he prepares to start his next flying lap, as he goes down towards the Ravazza corners on the track. Ferdinand Hasberg out on track for Auto Jamaica. So Hasberg currently out there at this stage as he goes around the first few turns on the track. So around he will go, around turn 3, as he will soon approach the Villeneuve chicane. Daniel Kvyat out on track, Antonio Fuoco out there as well, Nick Heifeld, Robert Kubica, A. Rovagno, Alexander Rossi, Marco Andretti out there as well. We'll also be seeing Jenson Button, Anthony Davidson, Daniel Abt, and Lucas Degrassi to come out on the track in a little bit. Kaiser starts his lap. He'll be hoping that nobody's at the end of the pit lane to potentially hold him up, as Kaiser goes down towards turn 1. Luckily nobody is there. Button a little bit too far away for Kaiser to be on the back off at this stage. He'll be hoping not to get up to him. He doesn't want his lap being compromised, but it did look like there he had a little bit of understeer and had to correct it through turn 2, so maybe the lap's already been compromised, probably carrying a little bit too much speed into the first few corners there for Kyle Kaiser, as he rounds the Villeneuve chicane now, then up towards the left-handed hairpin, and now up towards Piratella he'll soon go, using all the curb on the outside there then, as he'll soon come up towards Piratella. And Kyle Kaiser now then around the left-hander he goes, looking for a clean lap, looking to improve on what is currently P18 for the moment. So Kaiser currently struggling in this session, effectively second to last, because of course 3 drivers have qualifying bans. Those drivers being, just to remind you, Will Power, Nico Kari and Antoine Hubert. Those 3 not taking part in this session, as Kaiser now then rounds the right-left chicane. So he comes down towards Ravazza now then. And sorry about that little technical hitch there. Central decided to play up a little bit. So now we go down towards Ravazza 1 and 2. So through those sets of corners he goes. Alla Ravazza 2, using all the curb on the outside. And now in towards the last chicane. Through the left and right hander he goes as he heads down the pit straight towards the first few turns on the track. And Kaiser's starting his lap now then as he heads down towards the first 3 corners on the track now. Then through the left, right and left hander he will go. And in towards the S's we go. And through he will go then around those section of corners as we soon approach the left-hander. And out of the turn then we go as he will soon approach Piratella. In towards Piratella then we go round the left-hander. And he heads down towards Aquamilarali. He'll be hoping that the traffic in front of him is not going to hold him up as he tries to improve on 18th place at this stage. And in towards the right-left chicane we go. Through we go then towards the right and left-hander as he heads down towards the 2 Lavazza corners. And let's see if this will be an improvement for Kyle Kaiser as he'll now approach the first Lavazza now then through Lavazza 1 and then up towards Lavazza 2 he goes, coming off the turn and now up towards the final chicane on the track. So in fact he goes into the pits. In fact he remains 18th for the moment. I didn't really pay attention to his lap, I do apologise for that, but he remained 18th with his lap. And has there been any more improvements since we last checked on? I think I've not been really paying attention, I do apologise. But Hasberg remains second. It's still P1 for Daniel Kvyat, 17th for Fawako, 10th for Heifeld, 5th for Kubica. Aerovinio 16th still, 14th for Alexander Rossi. He improves but still struggling, it must be said. 7th for Marco Andretti, 19th for Anthony Davidson, 9th for Jenson Button. Lucas Degrassi 13th for the moment in the session as we come down to the final 6 minutes of this session. And my mind was elsewhere with that, I do apologise at this stage. And so I wasn't really paying attention and pretty much staring into space, it must be said. Degrassi through towards Piratella he goes as he just comes off the turn. And so far no rain at the moment, it must be said. We were expecting rain as you saw on the weather forecast a little earlier on, but it looks like it's stayed away at this stage because the rain hasn't really affected this qualifying session at all. As coming off the chicane now then we go. And Lavazza now then we go up towards Lavazza 1 and 2. Degrassi will be going back into the pits as Felipe Nasr has gone out onto the track for Shadow Racing. Nasr currently in 6th place. So far it'll be the team's best quality result if it stays like this, because so far this season Shadow, both Nasr and Davidson have been really underperforming this season compared to last season. Of course Nasr's been scoring more points, it must be said, currently in 6th in this qualifying session, but Davidson is, you have to say, has been underperforming this season and finds himself down in I think 19th at the moment, it must be said, which is effectively last because of the other 3 having qualifying bans. But yeah, that's that really. As Nasr now then goes in towards the right-left chicane, and Nasr will be about to start his next flying lap. Also on the track we have Jack Aitken. We'll be expecting teammate Rossi to join. We're expecting Andretti, Ferrucci, Fawako, Buemi, Kaiser to go back out, Elation, and we'll expect another car to be spawned in because of Abt going in, Button, and that's that really. You can see now the clouds are really starting to draw in now. It's starting to get a little bit darker now, so we might expect some rain towards the back end of the session. We'll wait and see, but the clouds have definitely got darker now as they overhang the Imola circuit as they come down towards the first few turns on the track. Luckily that looked to be an AYP that was coming out of the pits there. Yes it was. Luckily that didn't impede him, impede that Nasr as he was just about to start his lap now. Then through towards the first few turns on the track and then down towards the Villeneuve S's. Sorry, I need to stop calling it Villeneuve S's, it's Villeneuve chicane. Around we go now then as he goes towards the left-hander and pretty much just using that curb as a bit of a guide to just get around the corner essentially. As now up towards Piratella goes the Brazilian. Could he try and maybe get the car into the top 5 as he flicks the car in for the left-hander, using all the curb on the outside there, then down towards the 2 Aquaminerali corners as they come off the turn, heading up towards the chicane. And Nazar currently in 6th place as he now rounds that chicane, using all the curb on the outside there, then as he heads down the hill towards the 2 Lavazza corners. As now he goes down towards Lavazza 1 and then Lavazza 2 he'll soon approach. Let's see, can Nazar improve on this lap now then, as he uses all the curb on the outside as we're into the remaining 2 minutes I think in this session. Yep, well 2.5 minutes now to go in this qualifying session to determine the grid for race 1 tomorrow. Nazar comes out the final chicane, heads down the pit straight, and across the line goes Nazar, and he remains 6th for that lap on his final flying lap. No improvement for him. As now we look at Jack Aiken, is our lap currently in 3rd place at the moment, and so far looking at a top 3 start. But can he possibly try and get the car onto the front row if he can, as he rounds the right left chicane, using all the curb on the outside. He heads down the hill towards the 2 Lavazza corners, Lavazza 1 and 2 it must be said. Down the hill he goes, down towards Lavazza 1 and then into Lavazza 2 he will go, as he comes off the turn using all the curb on the outside, as we now go up towards the final chicane and through the left and right hander now then, as he heads down the pit straight. And Aitken now then is going to cross the line, and he remains 3rd with that lap. Button still 10th, but starting a lap I should say, he wasn't on a lap. Here's Kyle Kaiser then down in 18th, and that's a very huge mistake there for the American, pushing too hard, and he had to jam on the brakes there, which involved some tyre smoke to stop the car, and that will not help his lap in any way, shape or form. Rossi behind him is on a lap, and you'll be hoping not to get impeded by his fellow compatriot at this stage. As now through towards Lavazza 2 we go, as we now approach the final chicane. Let's see if Kyle Kaiser can improve on this lap now then. Well, it doesn't think he's going to improve because of that huge mistake he made into the chicane, but he crosses the line, and you can tell just how much time he lost, 1.1 seconds, and still 14th for Rossi. So a disappointing qualifying session for Alexander Rossi. Still 17th for Antonio Fuoco. He's definitely been struggling this season, it must be said, compared to teammate Santina Ferrucci. Michael Alation crosses the line, and he does not improve, remains 12th, as it's still 8th for Sebastian Buemi. No improvement for him. Still 15th for Santina Ferrucci in this session, as they just finished off their final flying laps. Here comes Marco Andretti into the final 20 seconds on the clock. Andretti now then across the line, and he remains in 7th place. No improvement. So we now look at Button is all that. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Checkered flag is out, and that is the end of the session. Button now then, can he improve? Across the line he will go, and he remains 10th with that lap, as we wait for these guys to go into the pits. Not Button. He crossed the line when the checkered flag man was out on the track, but he's still going at full speed, which is quite odd, it must be said. As Andretti now then will go up towards the left-hander, as he'll go down towards Aquaminerali, but the checkered flag is out, signifying the end of this qualifying session, as Andretti will now soon approach the chicane, and we'll see if it says qualifying over as soon as he comes into pit lane. Round the right and left goes Marco Andretti, and heading through towards Lavazza 1 and 2 we will go, and out of the corner we go. Let's see if it says qualifying over as soon as Andretti goes back into pit lane. And Andretti in, and it doesn't in fact. What about for Button? Is it because of those guys in the pit lane? I might have to press accelerate time as a result, but the rain has stayed away, it must be said. The rain did not affect this session. It might rain in a little bit, but it didn't look like the rain was going to affect this qualifying session. And as a result, It is now going to leave Daniel Kvyat on pole position for race 1 tomorrow here at Imola, and we might have to, in fact, we'll wait and see. Yeah, so let's accelerate the time. And there you have it then. So after all of that, here is the grid for tomorrow's race 1 here at Imola. It is Daniel Kvyat who takes his first GP3 pole position in the Pennzoil Grand Prix car, just 14 thousandths of a second ahead of Ferdinand Haasberg in second, Jack Aitken third, with Joseph Newgarden fourth, Robert Kubica fifth, Felipe Nasr in sixth, Marco Andretti in seventh, followed by Sebastian Buemi eighth, Daniel Aптин ninth, Jenson Button 10th, Nick Heidfeld 11th, Michael Aleix in 12th, Lucas Di Grassi 13th, followed by Alessandro Rossi in 14th. And if we scroll down the rest of the field, it is Santino Ferrucci 15th, Eero Vainio in 16th, followed by Antonio Fuoco 17th, Kyle Kaiser in 18th, Anthony Davidson 19th, and the 3 drivers that have qualifying bans, not in the right order, because it will go from the from garage order. And the 3 drivers with qualifying bans: Will Power in 20th, Nico Kari 21st, and Antoine Hubert in 22nd position. So there you have it then, guys. That is the grid for race 1 tomorrow here at Imola. Hopefully it's going to be a very intriguing race and a very exciting one as well, with Kvyat on pole. Hopefully it will be a very exciting race, and Haasberg will be hoping to get back in the Drivers' Championship hunt if he can, considering he's 10 points back from Joseph Newgarden. But there you have it then, guys. That has been it for the on-track action today. But stick around now, guys, because coming up next is the press conference for the top class. So if you've got any questions for the team bosses at present, then please leave them in the Twitch chat. I don't know if there'll be many, of course, because I wouldn't be surprised if people won't want to watch the World Cup. But we'll wait and see. But anyway, guys, that has been it. I hope you enjoyed it. So thank you very much for watching. I'm JWF1, and I'll see you guys in just a little bit for the press conference.